Watching Explosive Exclusive with me, Rahul Shivshankar. The big story, a story that seems to suggest that the rioting we saw, that the arson, the vandalism we saw was instigated. It wasn't spontaneous, at least in large pockets, in large measure. How can we say this? Because various states and their police are beginning to zero in on certain coaching centers, tutorial centers, viewers, that might have had, according to them, a pivotal role to play in the fire and fury that gripped India after the announcement of the Agnipath scheme. Now, viewers, these coaching centers run very big businesses. The entire industry is worth crores of rupees. And with a scheme such as this, it would make them pretty much redundant. That's perhaps the reason why, according to the police, that they mobilized a large number of youths to ensure that this entire scheme was put in mothballs. It seems that this arson was planned. The mobilization messages were all sent well in advance. 35 WhatsApp groups are on the radar. The center has in fact banned these 35 WhatsApp groups. Over 1,200 protesters have been identified. These arrested protesters have allegedly confessed to how some actors, some tutors coached them into taking up violent means to protest the passage of this Agnipath scheme. Times now access these clinching messages that show how the youth were told to assemble at different spots to ambush. What do we know? 35 WhatsApp groups have been banned over fake news, crackdown for peddling fake news and inciting the stir. Government own report says that provocative WhatsApp groups were issued. 1,200 protesters arrested in pan-India crackdown. 21 UP police injured in violent protests over the Agnipath scheme announcement. Roles of operators of coaching centers are now under the lens. Times now visited some of the coaching centers in Danapur. Remember, Danapur saw worst of the violence. You can see on your screens how an entire train was set on fire. The train station was vandalized extensively. The tracks were also uprooted in different places. The coaching center now stays closed in Danapur, and locals won't say a word. Take a look at this report, viewers, that we are filing.
छात्रों को भड़काने को लेकर पटना में 6 कोचिंग संस्थानों पर एफआईआर हुआ है, जिसमें से एक कोचिंग दानापुर का है, निरंजन कोचिंग। और जो बताया जा रहा है वो कोचिंग संस्थान है जहां पर जो बच्चों को पढ़ाया जा रहा था, और इस कोचिंग संस्थान पर भी एफआईआर हुआ है। इसी में अंदर आपको हम तस्वीर दिखाना चाहेंगे कि किस तरह से अंदर जो कमरे बने हैं उसी में क्लासेस होते थे। हालांकि कोई भी प्रूफ यहाँ पर ना तो कोई बैनर है, ना तो कोई पोस्टर है इस कोचिंग का, लेकिन जो यहाँ के लोग बता रहे हैं कि इसमें कोचिंग चलता था, आर्मी की तैयारी के लिए यहाँ कोचिंग चलाया जाता था और बड़ी संख्या में यहाँ पर बच्चे आते थे पढ़ाई करने के लिए। लेकिन इसमें अभी फिलहाल ताला लगा हुआ है, चूंकि एफआईआर हो चुका है इस कोचिंग पर।
यहाँ शाम में कंप्यूटर क्लास चलता था। कंप्यूटर क्लास वाला नहीं, फिर अंदर वाला में चलता था।
अंदर वाला में क्या, कौन चीज़ का पढ़ाई होता था?
जैसे बच्चा सब आता था, सियाना।
कोई भी यहाँ पर कुछ भी कहने से बच रहा है, क्योंकि ये जो एफआईआर हुआ है उसके बाद से जो कोचिंग संस्थान है जो बताया जा रहा है उसमें ताला लगा है और कोई भी कुछ भी बताने को यहाँ पर तैयार नहीं है।
Viewers, on the ground, raids have begun as part of a crackdown. In Uttar Pradesh, 34 FIRs have already been filed. 387 people have been arrested. In Bihar, 145 FIRs filed. 877 arrested and counting. In Sikandrabad, all the way down in the south, 46 arrests, Many sent into judicial remand from Bihar, Rajasthan to Telangana. The army training centers are under the lens. Among the 35 arrested in Aligarh, nine are operators of coaching centers. 6 coaching centers in Patna are facing FIRs. Bihar Railways DIG says that those who pelted stones can't be called students. First, listen in to what the Bihar DIG of Railways has said.
After the mayhem which was created by these hooligans who came in the garb of student protesters, now the railway police has made it sure that the raid route should be open. We are joined by DIG Railways. Sir, what is the status right now, and how far you have been managed to reach out to the key conspirators who were behind this incident?
अभी तक का जो हालात है, आज भारत बंद है और अभी तक के हालात पूरी तरह से सामान्य हैं। जिस तरीके से वो लोग आए थे, उन्होंने एक योजना बना रखा था और इसमें कुछ व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप सक्रिय हुए थे, उनको हम लोगों ने लोकेट कर लिया है। वो हमारे कब्जे में है सारी जानकारी। तो उन्होंने पूरी योजना बनाई थी। योजना के तहत उपद्रवी लोगों को यहाँ इकट्ठा किया और उनकी योजना ही थी कि रेलवे की संपत्ति को क्षतिग्रस्त करना, तो वो उन्होंने किया था। हम लोगों ने पहचान कर लिया है और स्टूडेंट्स तो बिल्कुल नहीं कहिए, स्टूडेंट्स ऐसा हरकत करता नहीं है। ये सारे लोग अपराधी थे और सामाजिक तत्व हैं, उपद्रवी हैं और उन लोगों ने ऐसा काम किया।
877 culprits have been identified. They have been booked and sent to jail. Lot many numbers came during our investigation, which were used to instigate the students, or on which they formed a group through which they gave a call to congregate at particular place. We are examining the role of all such WhatsApp group or all such groups which emanate from a coaching institute or some training institute. So we all are examining that, and few have been booked and few more are likely to be booked based on the evidence we collect. And primarily our job at present is to maintain law and order, to maintain peace on the roads and for the common people. Arrested persons have already confessed that they were congregating in a particular lodges or particular stay places or particular the coaching institute.
Big breaking news coming in, viewers. Crackdown continues on this coaching institute linked to the riots. This is what the police have been telling us. In Patna, a coaching center has been raided. Let's get more details. Let's go straight across to Priyank. Priyank, what's happening?
Yeah, certainly, Rahul, I would say that this is a massive time saw impact soon after we started exposing the role of multiple coaching centers and the WhatsApp group which was made in the name of study groups by these coaching center, which is certainly emerged. There's a fresh raid which has started at this Naya Tola, which is a hub of the coaching institute. If you talk about Patna, these are the SSB Jawans who have been deployed here to keep to allow all the kind of security measures which can happen. Just turn around, Rahul, and you can see the number of students who are stationed here, and every board which is there on this particular street will have either a residential accommodation for the student or coaching institute. So this is the manner in which over the period of 2 to 3 decades this area has become the hub of the coaching institute. But in between that, there have been many multiple coaching institute role which has also come up, who have been instigating their student to get indulged in violence, so that this policy can be taken by the government. We are at this Guru Rahman Institute, who is known as Daroga Guru. You know why this name has been given to him? Because he is very famous that anyone who enters and take his admission in his coaching institute will become a Daroga. That means he will wear a uniform, either it be a paramilitary force, armed personnel, or the Bihar police officials. So that is the kind of cloud these individuals had among the students. That's why the raids are being carried out. What we are getting to know that multiple agencies could also be behind this particular raid which is going on. It could be Bihar police also, and which can be assisted by several individuals of the income tax department, because if Bihar police has raided this, there will be several irregularities which has been happening in this particular coaching institute, which can also come under in the financial terms, because we are talking about these institutes which has grown up over the period of 2 to 3 decades. And then having this kind of cloud influencing allegedly students, and then coming out and trying to portray them as teacher is something something which is being a matter of investigation. Once again, Rahul, you'll be amazed. Look at these coaching classes. Scholars Library, then you on the other floor you have Anand Kumar sir, then you have another coaching institute. If you turn around and talk about this particular market, which is known as Gopal Market, there are 8 institutes which is operating. Motivational classes, then you have engineering classes on the right hand side. Look at this board. This building has AIM Civil Services, CET, STET, KVS, NVS, and you name the competitive exams, and these people are the one who have been teaching students how to appear in that. So Bihar's Patna, which is the capital city of Bihar, has been the hub of coaching institute from because the students from Jharkhand as well as Bihar, then many parts West Bengal, from everywhere, from the northeastern part of the country, from everywhere they come here. And what they are being taught? To go out on street and do arsing is something which is certainly not acceptable. That's why their role has come under scanner and the raids are being carried out.
Priyank, very quickly, what do these coaching institutes gain by actually tutoring these students into vandalism? Can you explain to the viewer?
See, Rahul, the number of the age gap has reduced. So obviously those number of aspirants who could have competed for more time period, who could have been the source of money for them for longer period, has decreased. The second option is that since the most there is a possibility which they are thinking that if the youths they feel that the age gap is less, that less number of students will try to appear because they will feel that there is no further future into it. So these are the mental calculation which has been done by them. That's why they want this policy to be taken back. Henceforth, their role has come up. We are not saying that they are totally involved or they have been proven guilty. But so far, the WhatsApp group which was being operational and the shelter which was given to various students in and around the areas of Patna has come under scanner. That's why these raids are being carried out.
So all of this was engineered and orchestrated.
From the Patna police can be seen in the frame. Yes, certainly, Rahul. I was just trying to tell you that Patna police officials who were part of this investigation team are also seen here. Sir, ये कौन से direction में रेड हो रहा है? किस कार में? अमित जी किस कार में? हाँ, hello. Certainly, they does not want to indulge in too much of media conversation because the senior official, the ADG, the DIG, and the SP of the cyber cell who has spoken to Times Network since morning. They have spoken in detail regarding the role of WhatsApp group. Secondly, the role of various coaching students. So far, we have named 15 coaching students. But the breaking input which I would like to once again tell to Rahul, that although the Bihar police is not talking about it, but the role of Danapur's local MLA has also come under scanner, who could have been behind the attack at the Danapur cantonment. Although it's a political thing, so the Bihar police is certainly not trying to come on record. But what sources have told it to me earlier in the day, that they are also probing the role of the local IJD MLA from Danapur behind the violence which happened at Danapur railway station.
That's very interesting. That's a very, very interesting update and a big news break here. What we are being told is that the involvement of the local MLA from Danapur and RJD MLA reportedly is also under the scanner. Now, let me go back to you, Priyank, because I really want to understand what was in these messages that had led the police to conclude there's a link between some of these individuals who run these coaching institutes and, of course, the arsonists, the vandals.
See, Rahul, these a student from across the state of Bihar and I would say the eastern part of the country come to these coaching institute, which is at Nala Road, Ramna Road. There are several roads which is near Ashok Rajpath. And in my childhood days, I have seen these institute growing like this only. Now the second point, what is the role of these coaching institute? These coaching institutes certainly want more and more number of students to come to them and take admission in their coaching institute so that they can get admission at various platform. So what had happened that there was several WhatsApp group which was made by various students to study, to prepare for the competitive exam, or in fact for the running early in the morning. These groups were used by several individuals to vitiate atmosphere. They were circulating fake propaganda, and these WhatsApp group were also used to mobilize youth to different portions of Bihar. Like what happened in Danapur was certainly not a spontaneous thing. These group of individuals burned down Rahul property worth 176 crore, which is certainly not a job of one individual. The second point of your question, what sources have been indicating you to Times Network that Ritlal Yadav, who's a local RJD MLA's role is also under scanner for the Bihar police, because not only railway property was attacked, but also the Danapur cantonment, which is one of the most important bases of army personnel in this portion of the country, apart from what Assam Rifles has, was also put under attack. So that was a clear-cut provocation. If armed personnel, since it's a prohibited area, could have fired, then the loss of students' life could have also resulted. I would certainly say we have raised questions to our police, but they have managed to maintain that no.
Okay, yeah. Let's open this up. Let's open this up. Stay with me, Priyank. Let me just open this up and ask some direct questions of our guests this evening. Sunny Dhiman, Sumansi Raman, Dr. Raman, Abdul Basit, General Secretary and spokesperson of the RJD. Let me first begin with you, Abdul Basit. Mr. Basit, this is a very, very serious, serious disclosure that is being made by Priyank, who is telling us that a large number of these protests were orchestrated. They were part of an attempt to destabilize the peace in Bihar, and it's had political backing from opposition groups, including CPI-ML cadre, RJD, others. This is shocking.
देखिए आरजेडी का जो जन्म है वो आंदोलन से हुआ है। देखिए कोई भी आंदोलनकारी अगर आपको ये लग रहा है देश के लिए गलत काम कर रहा है, तो बेशक उठा के जो बड़े हमारे सीनियर नेताओं के साथ आपने करते आ रहे हैं 7-8 साल से, आप उनके साथ भी कीजिए। मगर मैं क्वेश्चन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से करना चाहूँगा कि आप ये बताइए कि इन गलत पॉलिसियों के पीछे कौन है देश में। मुझे ये बताइए कि इन गलत पॉलिसियों के पीछे उनके खिलाफ एफआईआर कीजिए। कौन है सलाहकार मोदी जी का जो इस तरह की गलत नीतियां हर साल कोई नीति गलत लाके आप
मिस्टर बासित, ये आप जरा अपना नहीं एक मिनट बासित साहब, डोंट यूज फाउल लैंग्वेज प्लीज डोंट यूज फाउल लैंग्वेज। यहां पर थोड़ा तहजीब से आप बात कीजिए। आप भावुक जरूर हुई है, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं। अब आप पत्थर भी फेंकने लग जाएंगे, फिर उल्टा काम करेंगे और बोलेंगे हम आंदोलन करें तो गलत है। तो आप गालियां वालियां मत दीजिए। लेट अस बी अ लिटिल मोर एटिकेट ओरिएंटेड।
कोई गाली किसी प्रकार की, मैं कोई किसी गाली को मैं समर्थन नहीं देता, ना मैं कोई गाली देता हूं।
आपने अभी दिया ना,
समझिए
कौन
क्या है कि देश
आपने कोई वर्ड इस्तेमाल किया जो मैं आपको कहना चाह रहा हूं गलत वर्ड है, ऐसा वर्ड मत इस्तेमाल कीजिए। आप समझ रहे हैं मैं किस पे बात कर रहा हूं। आई डोंट वांट टू रिपीट दैट वर्ड।
राहुल जी
प्लीज
सुनिए आप। राहुल जी सुनिए आप सुनिए। मैं एक बात आपको स्पष्ट कर दूं कि आप हर साल जितनी भी गलत नीतियां इस देश के ऊपर लादी जा रही हैं, इसकी जनता जवाब देगी। हम तो एक छोटी सी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी हैं, मगर जनता इसका बिल्कुल आपको जवाब देगी 2024 में। हर साल थोड़ी कोई भी नीति लाएंगे और उसको पूरी जनता के ऊपर आप लाद देंगे। आप क्या
मगर इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वायलेंस होनी चाहिए। एक मिनट, लेट मी ब्रिंग इन राहुल नार्वेकर, स्पोक्सपर्सन ऑफ द बीजेपी। नार्वेकर साहब, आप
आरजेडी पूरी तरह वायलेंस के खिलाफ।
Abdul Basit is saying that it is a party that is born out of an andolan, and that people are upset with your political party, and therefore they are reacting in this violent way. How do you respond to Mr. Bassett's remarks?
Well, I think Mr. Bassett's remark explains squarely that he claims that his party has arisen out of protests. But I don't understand, I don't think his party or he understands what are they protesting for. So, be that as it may, let me just tell you, these events which we have witnessed in Bihar are completely orchestrated. If you see the modus operandi of this event, if you see the sequence of these events, you can see that they are stage managed. And unfortunately, in democracy, people, irresponsible people like Mr. Bassett and his party indulge in actions which are undemocratic and results in a chaos that we are seeing today. They are taking advantage of the liberties that the Constitution has given them. And therefore,
one second, बासित साहब, इनका कहना यह है कि जो पार्टी आज लोगों के हित में बात कर रही है वो जरा इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करें. उनके जो प्रभारी हैं लालू प्रसाद यादव साहब, वो तो जेल गए हैं लोगों को लूटने के लिए, चारा स्कैम में. तो आप लोगों की बड़ी हित की बात कर रहे हैं. आप
देखिए, ये
आप कैसे कर सकते हैं?
देखिए, मेरी बात आप समझिए. आप मेन चीज पे फोकस नहीं कर रहे हैं. आप अदर
नहीं, मैं उसी चीज पे फोकस कर रहा हूं.
आप फोकस कीजिए कि
देश के हित में और लोगों के हित में पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी को जलाना तो ठीक नहीं है. आप मेरी बात से
देश के हित में बात कीजिए. देश के हित की बात यही है कि आपने व्यापार खत्म करे, आप खत्म करी, आपने शिक्षा खत्म करी. आज आप इंस्टीट्यूशन के ऊपर एफआईआर कर रहे हैं. आपने 2340 आदमी उठा के बंद कर दिए. ये प्रोटेस्ट. और मैं आपको बता दूं, पुलिस के हाथ जितने भी व्यक्ति आए हैं, पुलिस के हाथ जितने व्यक्ति 2340 व्यक्ति जो आपने गिरफ्तार किए हैं, उनका कहीं ना कहीं बजरंग दल और आरएसएस के साथ लिंक है. मैं आपको चैलेंज करता हूं.
किसी को अंदर नहीं, पूरा देश चलाने को लेते.
आपको मैं चैलेंज. शुभराष्ट्र wants to come in. Shubhrashtra wants to come in. Yes, Shubhrashtra.
गिरफ्तार कीजिए.
Rahul, I come from Bihar.
Yes.
Okay. And I have a huge problem.
When RJD politicians come and start pontificating a lot on how should politics be done and how should anchors pose questions to RJD politicians. Mr. Bassett, मैंने बात अपनी रखी नहीं है अभी. अब्दुल भाई, मैंने अपनी बात अभी शुरू ही की है. राजद के नेताओं को सार्थक राजनीति करने के अलावा बाकी सब चीज पे ज्ञान आप दिलाइए, ये देने को तैयार हैं. ये कह रहे हैं कि हम लोगों ने गलत नीतियों का जवाब हम लोगों को 2024 में देना है. तो ये तो आपके प्रोग्राम पे खुलेआम एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं कि ये जो प्रोटेस्ट हैं वो राजनीतिक हैं. ये प्रोटेस्ट किस इशू के लिए हो रहा है राहुल? पहले वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट प्राइमा फासी दीज प्रोटेस्ट्स आर अबाउट स्टूडेंट्स, so called allegedly students who want to get into something as pristine as the army. I am an army kid in the sense that I've studied in army school. Let me tell you, it is an institution where no compromise on ethics is done. You do not necessarily have to be extremely brainy or extremely brawny to get into army. The basic qualification to get into an army is a mindset, is an attitude, is something, it's a passion that you feel for your nation. Now, why do I mention the word alleged? I mention the word alleged with students because no student worth their salt who wants to appear for army examination and wants to serve the country on the borders is going to do the kind of mayhem that can be seen on the streets. Have you noticed the way they treated old women? Do we not know that under any contingency that the country faces, then there are floods, when there are any kinds of natural disasters, army is the first institution to run. These are the kind of students who are going to protect our citizens tomorrow. So let me make it very clear that these protests are not only political, and I'm not saying it. Mr. Bassett said it. Mr. Bassett made it very clear that this is how people are going to respond in 2024. So the trailer for 2024 is that all kinds of riots in the names of student protests, etc., is going to happen.
Okay.
और आप क्या कहेंगे बासित साहब? क्या आप आंदोलन से शुरू करने वाली पार्टी हैं? आपने किसी एक आंदोलन को हाईजैक करके आपके नेता आते हैं, एक टर्म अच्छा काम करते हैं चरवाहा विद्यालय खुलवा करके, और उसके बाद आकंठ डूब जाते हैं करप्शन में, आकंठ डूब जाते हैं गलत काम में, और आपका नहीं, सुनिए, जनता की आवाज सुनने की बासित साहब,
पूरे भारत में
जनता की आवाज सुनने की हिम्मत रखी है अब्दुल साहब। लालू यादव ने जो किया उसकी सजा उनको मिल रही है।
अब उन्हें पुलिस
और आप ज्ञान मत दीजिए कि आप क्रांति के पार्टी से आप आते हैं।
Okay, let me open this further very quickly. Two responses: Sunny Dhiman, spokesperson of the Youth Congress, and Dr. Sumansi Raman, political analyst. Let me bring them in. They've been listening patiently. Now, Sunny Dhiman, today the Congress and some other opposition parties were hoping that the Bharat Bandh would prove successful. It hasn't. People went about their ordinary day as they would. Clearly, the support for what you believe is disappointment with this scheme is absent. In fact, in different places, it was Congress workers that set about trying to blockade roads, trains, inconveniencing people. Sunny Dhiman.
Yeah, good evening, Rahul. Let me remind you the famous British maxim, that is, king can do wrong. And actually, we are living in India where king, that is the government, that is the Modi, he cannot do any wrong. Be it Notbandi, be it GST, be it lockdown, and now it is, farmer protest, and now this is what is happening with Agniveer. You are ruining 225-year-old recruitment process of India's army, which is based on regimentization, and you are killing it.
And the mandate is very clear, which you all fail to recognize and acknowledge. Until you stay in the state of denial.
1 second, Rahul Narvekar, let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish. Let him finish, please.
No, that's not the way. That's. If you want to shout, you can shout. Nation is watching that you are.
Let him finish.
So you are ruining time-tested Indian Army's recruitment process, and you are throwing it overnight, and you are expecting that there will not be any protest.
But Sunny Dhiman,
Sir,
today was
India.
an opportunity
India
for you to
protest.
assess the public
India
mood. The
protest.
public seems to not have favorably backed your call for a Bharat Bandh. Now, if there was such popular disenchantment, would they not have backed your Bharat Bandh? They have not done that, sir.
Rahul,
yes,
you just see the way last 3 years. No,
we are not going. I was just talking about this issue. We can talk about those other issues, sir, another time. 1 minute. Let me bring it. Dr. Raman. Dr. Raman.
Rahul.
Yes, Dr. Raman, if there was widespread anger, why wouldn't the opposition's Bharat Bandh have struck a chord? People would have said, here is our opportunity to strike, send out a message, a powerful symbol of our anger by participating voluntarily in this boycott, and it would have sent a deafening message to the center, but it hasn't happened.
First of all, I'd like you to put out the official call for a Bharat Bandh made by the so-called opposition parties that you claim all the opposition parties called for the Bandh. I don't know which opposition parties have formally issued a Bandh call and when they issued a Bandh call. So perhaps if you could educate and give the viewers a list of opposition parties who had called for a Bharat Bandh today, that would help establish that fact before the audience. Second, as far as the scheme itself is concerned, we've had many ex-servicemen, many of whom have, vociferously supported the BJP, expressing their reservation. A classic example would be General G.D. Bakshi, who has, multiple times been on your show. Now, he is talking, significantly taking an anti-Agnipath stance. So you've got to ask yourself questions. You got Mr. Kishan Reddy's statement yesterday. You've got Mr. Kailash Vijayvargiya saying that he will employ them as security guards in BJP offices. Look, they wanted job security, not security jobs. I think there is a slight disconnect here. And it is important that the apprehensions of the youth, the violence is completely unacceptable. The strictest action must be taken against, whether it is coaching centers, whether it is political parties, whoever indulged in violence must be dealt with strictly as per the law. But There are genuine voices. There are a number of students who said, look, we cleared our medical last year. We are waiting for the exam. Been postponed 5 times. Now they tell us that there won't be an exam. There are some who say they got some provisional letter or something last year from the Air Force, and now they are left in the lurch. Now these are questions which need to be answered to. The government needs to clarify what is going to be the status of all these youngsters. So while dealing with the violence with an iron hand, which is completely acceptable, that is what the government has to do, they also have to allay the concerns of the genuine aspirants, those who have been asking what happens to what we went through last year. We have crossed 2 hurdles. We are waiting for the final to cross the final hurdle, and now the rug is being pulled from under our feet. What do we do now? So I think there are genuine questions, and painting everybody who is asking questions as an anti-national, as somebody who the toolkit is operating and so on, beyond a point will not work. The government has to look into and answer all these questions. I would
Look, the point is, viewers, there is now gathering evidence. We can all talk about anger, we can talk about sullenness. There are 2 immediate things that need to be pointed out. There is now gathering evidence that seems to suggest that some of these protests, maybe a majority of them, were orchestrated. Number 2, if there was genuine support for the opposition's point, the people themselves would have observed a bandh and obeyed the opposition's call. I leave it at this. I'm going to go straight across to Meghna Deka for more on this story.